It seems to me that everybody is thinking about inclusion in one way or another. For example, I'm talking to a girls' school who is now realizing that not all of their students identify as girls, and they're wondering what they can do to better support and create environments where everybody feels like they belong. There's a district I know that is looking at the significant differences between graduation rates of Indigenous versus non-Indigenous students and wondering why and what systems are in place that cause that discrepancy. I've got a teacher thinking about which students in her class seem to get the graduation award every year and how racialized students always seem to be left out. And it has her thinking about her practices, but also the systems at the school level where that happens. One school was telling me about how graduation night seems to be a parade of privileged students with many advantages who are feted over and over again, and others who may not have as many privileges sit in the audience and watch while their accomplishments are left uncelebrated. Teachers are thinking critically about their resources and what they read to students on the carpet, and whether those books actually represent the students that are in front of them, and what does it mean for a student to feel seen and heard and represented in the resources that are in the classroom. One principal talked to me about how they noticed that students who are not participating in class and also not achieving the same level of success are sitting around the margins of the classroom. These are huge issues that people seem to be thinking about. What do they have to do with creating inclusive classrooms? What can an individual classroom teacher do? What are some concrete and practical ways that we can think critically about our practice and our decisions so that I can take one small step towards more inclusive learning environments for all of our kids? Just some things I'm thinking about and hearing about and excited that people are looking at. Thanks for thinking about those things with us.
I think creating an inclusive classroom is not about adopting a specific practice or strategy as much as it is about adopting a mindset, really, a way of thinking about everything that we do, an orientation to our teaching and to learning that will help us make everyday decisions about our practices and strategies. I think we want to develop a habit of asking ourselves, for whom is this strategy that I'm about to embark on, or this resource that I'm going to use, for whom is it going to be beneficial? For whom might it be harmful? And if we're constantly asking ourselves questions like that because we have an inclusive mindset, then the strategies and the practices, I think, will follow. If we're going to answer the question, for whom might this practice or strategy or resource or approach be beneficial, and for whom might it be harmful, we really have to know our students so well. And knowing our students well is not a one-time event where at the very beginning of the year we hand out an autobiography sheet or we do some diagnostic assessments. It's an ongoing approach. We need to constantly be seeking to know our students really well. And to that end, I've been really trying to reframe assessment so that we see assessment opportunities, every assessment opportunity, as an opportunity to learn our learners. In fact, every instructional activity in class is an opportunity to learn our learners. I might ask myself, what am I going to know about my learners as a result of this instructional activity or as a result of this assessment? And if I'm not going to learn anything new that I didn't already know before, then perhaps I need to reframe that opportunity. This type of approach where we are constantly seeking to understand our learners just a little bit better is at the heart of an inclusive mindset. I really believe that most educators are naturally inclined to differentiate. I see them as students struggle and they walk over to their desks and they try to explain it in a different way. They try to use analogies. They provide a variety of different examples for individual students. That tendency to try to reframe things for the student who is struggling to understand, that is the inclination to differentiate. And I think it comes to most educators very naturally, their desire to want to make things work for what the student needs. I think it becomes overwhelming because we approach differentiation very reactively. So we wait and we see a student struggle, and then we try in the moment to figure out what they need in order to help them understand a concept or develop a particular competency. Differentiation might become more feasible if we have a handful of ways that we can apply during our planning, anticipating what students' needs are and how they might need a different approach in order to access the learning, and planning ahead to figure out which students might look at a slightly different resource or embark on a slightly different process in order to access the learning. That may be a way of approaching differentiation so that, of course, it's responsive, but it's a little bit less reactive. When we talk about universal design for learning, it can seem kind of daunting. But for me, it really boils down to a consideration of the question, what is it about the current way that I might be approaching something in the classroom that is actually posing a barrier for some students? And what can I do to remove that barrier? And if I shift my practice to remove that barrier for the students who need me to the most, will it actually also be beneficial for everybody else? If it is, then why wouldn't I apply that practice universally? So for example, if I have a student or a few students who get really wiggly on the carpet when we are doing whole group instruction together, and they can't concentrate in that setting, perhaps they find it stressful, and it's impeding their learning. And so I know that in order to support their learning, I need to find a new structure for them. I need to get them up and moving. I need to have them working in smaller groups. I need to provide some different options for how they can engage in that learning. If that's what they need from me in order to learn better, then, or to access the learning, and I'm going to do it for them, and then I realize, gosh, you know what? That's likely to be really good for everybody. Then to me, that's what universal design for learning really is, a consideration of who needs me to shift this practice in order to remove a barrier that they're experiencing, and would that actually be beneficial for everyone?